computer audio. So that's going, and we'll wait for people to roll in. We're about 4 minutes early, so let's see who shows up. This might turn a little bit. Where is everybody? I don't know. I'm really curious. We'll see. Maybe I scared everybody because I started talking about work last time.
This class is kind of
Yeah. Well, we're gonna start showing you guys how to.
I think it does scare people.
Yeah.
That's when you need to jump in on it.
Yeah. Well,
And you don't understand.
yeah. It's literally just playing with ideas, and that's gonna be the fun thing. Is I'm doing it with this class. I'm also doing my online or in-person crime prevention class for my graduate students, where it's as we're going through the material. What I'm going to do is you guys start picking topics, and I'll start showing you how the process of building out a way to start testing these things.
Yeah,
So, like,
well, like I say, I'm kind of old for school, but I find criminology interesting.
yeah.
I find,
Well, you've probably seen a whole bunch of stuff that's like things that are really curious about, the paradoxes, things that just don't make sense. It's like, logic would say that this should work this way, but every time everyone involved with this is not logical.
there's probably quite a few jobs in this area. I'm a little old for looking for a job.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason I'm doing this, my wife's in a nursing home.
Yeah. Well, it's
another time on my hands, so I thought I'd go back to school.
yeah. Well, it's a fun thing, and what we look at this class is, you've got time, you can go play with things, and I literally mean that within this class is, yeah, it's different in that almost everything in here is abstract. Like when you say something like the neighborhood social cohesion is what dictates whether or not this type of issue will lead to crime in this area.
Yeah.
Social cohesion.
There's so many areas that you could, like when you're talking about something yesterday about coming up with theories. I've always heard the theory about people that are mass murderers or murderers have a tendency to be cruel to animals. And if there's any way you can check to see if they've ever been charged with that kind of stuff.
Well, what you run into is most of that stuff's gonna be based off of things like I'm gonna look at the history of this person who was a mass murderer. Okay, so what all the ones that aren't caught, right? Every time you walk by a Walmart, there's that great big missing billboard, right? How many of those people are dead? Probably most of them, right? Or another one that I really love to talk about because it'll come up in here anytime someone starts getting some racial stuff. I talked about it in terms of levels of analysis. When you get into like the science behind it, some of it's complete crap. Some of it's very real, and then you have ones that are like what is it? They call it the implicit association test. If you ever heard anything where they talk about implicit bias and stuff like that, odds are it would be subconscious racism, implicit bias, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
A large part of that is based off of this right here, the implicit association test, where, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to monitor your facial reaction, and I'm going to monitor your choices. I'm going to present you with a picture, and I'm going to give you a series of words, and you're going to fit best word for that picture, right? And so I'm going to do this a whole bunch of times, and I'm going to show people from all kinds of races, sexes, all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm going to look at the positive versus negative nature of those words I gave you. I'm going to count to see which ones of those were negative, which ones of those are positive or neutral. I'm going to look to see, are you more positive towards people of your own race, or more negative, or is it, if we look at someone else, do we see something negative? Oh, you see negative and you look at a different race. If you're implicitly racist, it's like maybe also that person's probably what, anywhere from 20 to 60, and so most of their lives they will have spent in one kind of population, a group of people like them, and so they get really familiar with people like them, and then everyone else is different and unknown. People don't like the unknown.
That's true.
And so are we seeing racism, or is this novelty, something new? Like I'm just encountering a new group of people. It'd be like, you take me over to Cambodia. I'm gonna be looking at the way that they're dressed, thinking, I don't fit in, right? I'm not gonna look at them and be like, oh, well, obviously they're racist towards me, kind of things. No, that's not what's going on there at all. Is there something else? Can that be an element? Yeah. Is it the only? No. And so you start running into stuff with that, and we'll talk about that. I'm trying to remember what I was reading this morning whenever I was looking through the textbook of this class. There was a few different ones I know I wanted to talk about. I don't think I might have someone. I don't know what.
Oh, yeah, we got criminology or.
Well, there's a few things I want to show you because the big thing I want to talk about today. We'll talk about that because. Today, what I want you guys to start doing is giving me ideas for the things that interest you. Ideas. I'll show you how this is done from like my perspective, how it's done from your perspective, and maybe how the book will kind of walk you through it, because they'll be a little bit different each way. So let's start with ideas. Oh, spell it correctly. Ideas. We're down to 4. I knew someone wasn't going to be here today. Who was it? I can't remember. My mind is terrible. But today is the 7th. 4. This is criminology. Now, I want to actually start with what kinds of topics interest you?
As far as what, criminology?
Criminal justice in general. If there was any problem, any issue, anything you wanted to take some time and look at, what would it be? Because I'll show you how this works from a functional perspective. Like,
Kind of a tough question.
it is, it is. Oh, I'll give you guys some time to think about that one time about this for a second. And just the way the book presents this to you is one way of doing it. Then there's the way that we do it on our side. Is usually it starts out with this right here. What kinds of ideas are we interested in? What kinds of topics are there problems in my area that I particularly care about? Something like that, right? From there, it's okay. How would we look at it? And what do we know? Right? Those two are going to be intrinsically linked. What we know is going to be a product of how we went about getting it. That's methods. No. That right there, though. How we figure out what we know. You start with the literature, we start with that kind of stuff, see what's been done there. As you pick your topic, what you'll find is that some topics will use certain theories more frequently than others, right? So if you start looking at you know, your topic, you can quickly be guided into what kinds of theories would be interesting to you, or what you should use for those topics very, very quickly. So it's very, very easy. The book spends quite a bit of time in one of the chapters between 1 and 3, where it talks about, you know, how this stuff is generated. It's always generated because you're dealing with a large group of people, but they only focus on one very, very specific thing. It's sort of like, you know, how many different people have their hands in how many different pots, and how much stuff can they acquire at the same, you know, all together. You end up with a lot you can do all at once, but you're all doing something slightly a little bit different. Okay. We're looking for consistency, so we'll see what things are popular then. And as you're doing that, well, one, it'll set up, identify what theories apply to that issue. Right? As you're doing that, you'll see specifically, because they'll alter that theory to some degree to address that specific issue. The other way you can do it is, let me show you that. It's like in terms of ideas, like how how wild could you be? As wild as you want, right? Um,
Basically come in when you're research, is that what you're doing there or not? It's like
you're starting to get
trying
there.
find out.
You're starting to get there.
Okay, like Google something.
Yeah, so there is a creative side of this. Right. And so what this is this is where the only creativity side really matters is what interests you, right? To give you an example, let me pull this up here because I was talking about this last class. It was the time, crime, and place stuff. I think that'd be here. Let me go ahead and do this. Share screen because this will help you guys online too. Sure. Place, time, season, and crime. Here there are distinct temporal ecological patterns and crime rates. I talked a little bit about that. In here, there'll probably be, yeah. One of the theories is going to be related to crime patterning theory, how people move through space, how it affects crime. It's like, to some degree, the ideas you are thinking about will dictate options you have for this. To give you an idea of what I mean. Let's say drugs. Okay. You're just interested in drugs. Maybe you don't have it very well defined. It can be a specific drug, it could be, or it could be, you know, I mean, you know, was it domestic violence or whatever it is, right? From there. Okay. You can go look this up and pull up a huge body of literature. And that's something. What's something interesting to you that you might you know want to dig into? I heard someone talking about the relationship between this welfare money and death. Right? Okay. There is a stereotype that I don't like. It's that those on welfare are going to use their welfare money to go buy drugs. And basically what we're doing is we're funding a suicide system, right? We know these people have problems. Because they have problems, we throw free money at them, they go use drugs, they die, right? That does happen. That will definitely happen. Well, what do we know about it? Well, you go out there and see the literature, there's that, that'll give you some information. That you'll use to see, how am I going to get it? You want to find out what's actually going on, though, you need to look at it. I'll teach you how to do that. In here.
There's studies done on all that stuff, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, like this one.
I wouldn't think that it's 100%.
Yeah. Well, it's like something like this. Right? Okay. That's something testable. That's going to be the time, crime, and place stuff. Is this necessarily theoretically driven? No. Right? Because you're not thinking that way. You're just looking as a process, this is kind of how that works. Okay. As you start researching, you're going to dig into this topic, overdoses kind of thing, right? Drug use, drug overdoses, death, welfare. As you dig into each of those will have research articles that you'll look at. Each of those will use different theories within those articles, right? So now you've got options.
On the news, I don't know if you saw this.
Mm-hmm.
There was this, but speaking of drugs, I don't know anything about this person. I don't know if they're on welfare. I don't know anything about them. But she OD'd on something. And her 1-year-old kid, and this was just yesterday, was walking on the street.
Yeah.
So somebody saw the kid, they came and they found her and saved her life.
Yeah.
So I just thought, in my mind, I wonder how much worse if she's in any of that.
Yeah.
She's
well, there's a whole lot of habits. And so
is that
which one?
what you're talking about?
Well, this would just be like, okay, you know, we talk a lot about the fact that you know, these people, the drug users, they're bad people. And not only are they bad,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that actually, but we'll say society at large looks negatively upon those who use drugs. Yeah. It also looks negatively upon those who use this system, right? Because those who are having difficult times tend to have difficult times, and people don't like when others are going through difficult times. Sometimes that leads to death.
Everything leads. to-
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes it's quite directly where it's like,
Right.
okay. 30 years ago, before they were giving you a card that they'd manage all that money electronically, they'd give you food stamps kind of thing or whatever. Okay, what's the exchange rate for that? It's an exchange rate there. You can go turn around and sell that for real money. You won't get the same dollar value, but you'll get real money. You'll turn around and you'll use those drugs for death. You could track that. I could look at, depending on what the state is, okay? On the data side. Okay, I know how often people overdose and die because I can get that from any of the agencies that track that. If it's a regularly established, like there's a pattern to it on this day of the month, every day of the month, that's when that money kicks over. And if it's that same day for everyone, it's really, really easy. Right? And it's like, okay, I'm going to track these overdose deaths and I'm going to correlate them to see if it's related to this. If I see, okay, this happens, and then in a couple of days, you start seeing, like say, this happens, well, for a couple of days, start seeing people die. Like you can see that in numbers, right? And theories that deal with all of these, this as a process. There's going to be theories that deal with crime generation as a process, drug use, and you'll have your choice of a whole wide range.
There was something about in the book that I was reading about, like you're talking about times.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of going like what you say, the first of the month, the first day of the month for some reason is when they go after people and steal their stuff. And I don't know, is it because welfare people get paid? I know social security people get paid on the first of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have a correlation?
There's a number of things. So the first one I probably talk about would be some of your situational stuff. The opportunity theories, what they would highlight is, you know, at that point in time, the people who are engaging in similar behaviors, opportunity, money opens up kind of what people are getting in, what they can't do. There's more to it, but we'll move forward. Victimization. We talked a little bit about this. I can't remember how much we talked about. Mm-hmm. So yeah, well, and so that's gonna be the math side of how they build these theories. You got both sides. First one is just play with ideas. It's like, what kinds of things interest you? Just be thinking about that, right? Is it, you know, you can go wide drugs, violence, these types of crimes, this type, you know, maybe this group of people, you know, that kind of stuff. And it can take you anywhere you want it to. It's a lot of fun. I want to see where they start getting into actual theories now, because we talked about some sex-based differences.
I think the big idea that I think more important than anything else is how you prevent this stuff from happening.
Mhm.
Like the minority report. That
Yeah.
They do if you're gonna commit a crime and they stop you.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the crime seasonality stuff, the all of the ecological stuff, that's its own branch. Some of it can be relatively atheoretical. Like for example, you know, they'll tell you here are your hot days, here are your hot times, that kind of thing. It can tell you, okay, when is the official beginning of the day? Right? Most people go, it's midnight, right? Well, if you're looking at crime and that's what you're actually using to orient the day, it's going to be somewhere like 5 in the morning. The whole research article, or what the person does is they take crime incidences, they map them out across a 24-hour period. Okay, watch these patterns, you'll see that there is a complete dip right here where the people who are out late at night, they're now starting to go to bed. And it's right about the same time people are getting up for the day or getting up before they're out. Here's your start point. Right. And so is that theoretical? No. Is it practical and useful? Yes. Ideally, those two things work together. You have the theoretical that you use to analyze what you actually have to do something that is practically applicable. Okay. Here they talk about victimology, that kind of stuff. I think I talked about that one already. Cost for crimes. When they get an actual theory, that's where I want to actually start talking about it. Post-traumatic stress. Eesh. Here, this will probably be more like it. Theories of victimization. Give me the actual theories. All right, here we go. So. To some degree, this is going to be, sort of like a tree, right? You'll have your overall area. This is victimology. These are just some of the theories within here. And each of the articles that you'll read, if you pick any of these theories, what you'll find is they'll have the overall theory, but there'll be minor revisions to it. So it is an active research project, so it'll be something that there'll be minor changes to it. Okay. So here, this is one where they're dealing with confrontation. So in this one, what they're dealing with is that victim. What is your role in the crime incident? Victimization is kind of a dangerous topic sometimes, particularly when you start talking about that aspect of it. I want to say this book talks to some degree in terms of talk about victim blaming, something of that nature. It's like, yeah, be careful with that. If this were a crime prevention course, I'd talk a little bit more about that. I'm not going to. Here it says active precipitation, your provocation, right? Passive, the first one act in sequence. So in terms of that, it's talking about, what actions are triggering these things off. If you look at it that way, okay, there's your causal network. You can start identifying these specific sets of behaviors are the ones that we see in these types of incidents and these types of scenarios. Okay. Here, passive precipitation exhibits some type of personal characteristic that unknowingly threatens or encourages the attacker. Okay. Another way of looking at that whenever we're talking about that kind of stuff. Okay.
So what's the difference?
Okay.
I mean,
Active is something that you're
trying to initiate that.
Yeah.
Faces.
Yeah. So a good way to look at this would be maybe intent would be a good way of looking. This one you should know kind of what you're doing, right? You're using an example, you're using fighting words, you're provoking. This one you won't realize you're provoking, right? Good example here. I don't know if they give you one, but I'll give you several. It could be a skimpy outfit, right? Right? Yeah. I was out clubbing last night. My dress was a little too tight, right? Could be that, or it could be like, here's another one. I'm walking, my knees bother me. I'm walking, you see my gait is not normal, right? And what does that mean? Well, if I'm a hobbling, that means I might not be as good at fighting me now. I just encourage it, right? That's the same thing you'll see in animals too. That one's kind of
So one of them is probably like if you're an active participant, you're starting to fight.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
You're doing what you're doing, but in the other one,
You
you're that's not necessarily illegal, but the first part
Yeah.
could be.
Well, it might not even be illegal, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, yeah, the next topic they move into is like female rape victims often contributors are attacked by that's the active.
I didn't even read that.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't read
that's
it.
active?
Yeah, so that one's active because you're doing something. These are the ones that's like, you don't realize you're doing it. Maybe, here what we'll say, trigger when it's personal pictures unknowingly that either threatens or encourages, right? So what they're doing there, the encourages ones is easier because that would be something like, okay, you're hobbling, you're not paying attention, you're off by yourself, those types of things, right? Those would be your common ones like person's walking down the sidewalk there with the phone in front of their face and headphones in. It's like, oh yeah, you got a perfect victim right there. They ain't gonna know anything happened until they wake up, right?
So active, you're aware.
Yeah.
And passive, you're unaware.
Yeah, well, at least you should be aware.
Yeah, you think so.
Yeah. All right. Gender may play a role in decision-making process. Criminals may target. Yeah, okay, that's passive. That's same kind of thing there, right? I do like the sleeveless shirts. That's awesome. Say criminal violence may be encouraged by behavior of the target. Here it says this person was beaten by 6 black students. Undercurrent of racial tension. Okay, what's it going to say? Was it? Because I didn't read this part. They hung nooses from a tree. Yeah. What happened after that? After the incident? Yeah, he was attacked. Yeah, that stuff will happen. Yeah, so that would be one that's like, yeah, you did that one. Yeah.
I don't think that.
Here, we'll take one and I'll make it passive, right?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so that one, and they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
You watch NASCAR?
That's what I was gonna say. That one that is in
Yeah.
the garage.
Yeah, so a passive one would be, you had that effect. You had no intention to, so the passive one was when it was, NASCAR, like maybe a year and a half ago, something like, maybe it's 2 years or so, I don't know, it's been a while. Yeah, big garages, right? Those doors are big. Sometimes I have trouble reaching. What are you gonna do? You're gonna put a rope on it, right? Person did it, but because there was that same kind of undercurrent there, because there's a lot of sensitivity towards that issue, there should be. I see it, see a noose. It's not a noose. It's just a way for me to grab the handle. And I got it, otherwise I'm getting a ladder or I'm jumping, right? Same effect upon the victim. You know, the NASCAR driver saw it. I mean, was he traumatized by it? Probably. I'd be worried if I saw something like that, and I've read history. Like, yeah, is it purpose? No. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a victim. No, that would be,
They were all like that on all the doors.
Yeah.
Just that one door.
yeah. The only way that would be like the victim side of that would be as if, the guy who put those not nooses, handles in place, pull ropes, it's like, yeah, that, if he got punched for that, that would be one that was like, that was victim. Lifestyle theories. Here's where you start getting into a completely different. Lifestyle theories are going to deal with that opportunity structure. And those opportunities are going to be a function of how you live, right? People have high risk lifestyles. Whether it's drinking, drugs, being out at night, being away from home, on the streets, your likelihood increases of victimization, right? There's a whole bunch of literature on each of these areas, right? For example, okay, what kinds of behaviors, what kinds of locations, right? What kinds of social events? Let's see, what are some other things you can think of, right? Oh, here's a good one. Okay, we'll play with this one for a second. Okay, so we're going to say it's lifestyle theory. We're dealing with these people's lifestyles. Is everyone's risk the same? No, people don't. I don't need to ask you if you live the same lifestyles as someone else. Everyone's got their own, right? There's some commonalities there, but stop and think about it. So, lifestyles. Where was I? Different lifestyles, different chances. What governs whether or not you leave the house today? Sometimes, yeah, right? I'm pointing to the people online. If you're watching right now, I hope you guys are.
Crazy cold out.
Weather is a big one, yeah. Yeah, that if you do the crime and seasonality stuff, that weather thing's a huge one, right? Here, what you start talking about is, yeah, you get all the stuff that people normally do, and if you choose some things, like going out at night, it's like, yeah, there's more risk there, right? Also, some people don't have a choice, right? Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah, it's like, okay, I finished with school, and then I gotta go spend another 6 hours at this night job. Okay, I'm going out at night. I don't have a choice there. What can I do to affect that exposure? Nothing. What's gonna happen? Well, my chance of victimization is gonna increase. Also, there's gonna be some issues with my quality of life, and I might not be too happy about that. And one of those things was that fear thing we were talking about last class. That was last class. So it's like there's a whole bunch of stuff that starts coming into play very, very quickly. Right. Here we're going to tell you about some of those things, whether you're talking about recreational fun, the neighborhood bar, or just, hanging out with friends and getting in fights. All that stuff's going to be involved in it. There's, and I'll take this as a moment to say this. That 1,000-foot view, I think I mentioned that last time. Did I do that? So whenever I start talking about theories, usually I'll give you guys 1,000-foot view. First class, I kind of talk out of, okay, abstractly, here's the kind of thing. Okay, here's what numbers look like. That was last class to some degree. General idea. Here's what kind of how the theories work. Different levels, different focuses, different topics. Now we're starting getting the actual theories themselves. As I said, that first class, this is from other people who've read it and digested it and other works. You want to get back to the original works that put these theories forward, you let me know and I'll send those to you. Because that's, when you really get into it, you'll see that there's more information than what you get out of this. And so more you can do with it. Okay, high risk lifestyles, we'll talk about that. Okay, gang members, all kinds of things that can make danger increase. Okay, college lifestyle. Guess what? That's a huge one. We talked about specific environments that have high levels of victimization, high levels of danger, high levels of drug use. And yeah, everything related to the sexual assault stuff, right? What I want to tell you about that. A lot of conversations on that. First off, what I would say here is $950,000 lawsuit to settle a accusation of rape. No liability. Agreed to conduct 5 years of sexual awareness programs, all that kind of stuff. Person was never charged for it, right?
A lot of that has to do with who he was.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, but it's pretty much true.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. It's always a combination of who that person is, the value we give that person or their family or whatever. And then you also have the universities involved and you have another organization here that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So what you need to know about college stuff, I'm just gonna say it's its own sub area of study in this field. You can study the heck out. I have. Probably the most important thing to be aware of with that is Gene Cleary, how organizations work, but that's not theory. Gene Cleary is the Safety Act, why they publish numbers on how many crimes take place on campus. Because organizations have a tendency to try to hide that if you have a bad one. There was a bad one that ended up killing a student because they weren't secure. They knew that there were issues and didn't tell anybody. And so it's like, yeah, that's a whole big story there. Fun one. If you want to get into college stuff, let me know. We'll start there. Okay, here's where it starts talking about the lifestyle. Yeah, right there. Parties, fun, victimization. Criminals have that same thing. In fact, whenever I mentioned the overlap between criminals and victims, it's like that's kind of what you're talking about there. You're largely talking about that lifestyle and that opportunity. Much more likely to be victimized than non-criminals. Why? I will target you specifically because you are a gang member. Right? That kind of thing. There will be deviants. So you'll have lifestyle theory in general, and then you'll have it for whatever specific group or issue you focus in on. That's how specific this stuff is. Deviant place theory. I don't know if I like how they're presenting that. Here, what they talk about is exposure in dangerous places. Just like in people, places are the same way. If I look at an analysis of, let's say, I have every person in the country on it and the number of crimes that they committed. It's gonna look like something like this, right? Almost everybody's got nothing and a few people have a whole lot, right? It's like the zeros and ones are gonna be the bulk. And one bad thing, okay, that's everybody. If I look at locations, I'm gonna see this pattern too. Most crime is very, very low, most places. Some places it's really, really high, right? Strip malls, things like that. It's like parking lots. Looking at vandalism. There you go, right? Another way of looking at that, they've got, they mentioned crime pattern theory. that's gonna tie into this kind of stuff too. There will be overlap in theories. I don't know if I want to say.
Actually, I think they're incorporating that into insurance.
Oh,
This is all
yeah.
track, but I got that drivewise thing on my
Mhm.
car, and I do go to the casino like on Saturday sometimes. And it says you're in an unsafe area.
Yeah.
And it.
Oh, yeah.
And it flags it, like you're not in a good spot.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's starting to go into other areas too.
yeah, so people are starting to realize that there's money attached to it, right? When you realize that there's money attached to it, that's when everybody starts getting buying into it.
Yeah.
That would be, whether it's the dangerous places or like the subscription stuff.
And even at time, like if you leave there at 2 o'clock in the morning, it says you're driving and it's too late, you shouldn't be
Mhm.
driving.
Yeah, it'll mark it up. It's like,
Should be home
okay,
in bed.
yeah, the likelihood you're out doing something you shouldn't be massively
Yeah.
increased. I'm gonna rank up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your insurance rates just went, yeah, that kind of stuff. Same thing here, said greater exposure to dangerous places, more likely to go. So some communities encourage both crime and victimization, some locations do, some buildings do. Depending on how discreet you want to get, how much you want to get into it. In terms of what aspects, what level, right? Here they're gonna talk about, a lot of poor, dense population, inner city stuff. Because there's just gonna be so much overlap between income, quality conditions, education, jobs, opportunity, crime, races, age, all those things are gonna come, there's heavy overlaps in all those things.
That honor codes, that gang stuff.
Yeah. Let's start talking about that. I don't know if I want to go into gang stuff too heavy. Not. Because that's that you get the gang stuff pretty quickly there. Here what they're talking about is socialization process. Essentially, very interesting element that you'll see in gang stuff. Positive characteristics bent towards negative things. Whether you're talking about things like honor, autonomy, self-reliance, all of those things. As you study, so here's where it actually starts talking about gangs. As you start studying those things, anything that's of value in our society that we can use for good, guess what? People who are doing bad things can do the same thing, right? And so you have this honor, yeah, I can use that. That'd be like, the chismo. You ever heard that phrase before? Chismo. I'll give it a Google definition of it because they'll do it better than I will.
Well, I don't know.
But,
I think of more of an
Chismo.
mafia type of thing.
yeah,
That's
well,
what
it's got to do with like, masculine pride. There you go. Right, masculinity, strength.
Yeah.
Right. Now you're in a gang where you're competing with a whole bunch of men in a group for whatever reason. Usually it's stature in an area that's small. And and so you'll see that there's a whole bunch of stuff where you can find good elements. I'd bring a link from my book because I couldn't remember what it was. Where they'll bring elements like that and turn them, right? There's a process for that. There's a process when you start doing it. That's going to be theory driven. Theory will outline what that process is, and then we go through and test it. Okay. Routine activities theory. So, most of the stuff that they're dealing with in this chapter is going to be location based. Routine activities theory is a little bit different than lifestyles. So lifestyles has to do with the fact that it has to do with the places you're going and I'll just say lifestyle. Maybe I just want to say lifestyle. Routine activities theories, to some degree, what you're talking about is what it takes for crime to take place. Suitable target, absence of a guardian, and an offender. Here's motivation. The target, no guardian, and an offender, crime can take place. Doesn't have to, but it just means that it can. If I track enough factors to be able to identify, okay, here are things that are targets. Here's where crimes are taking place. Here's where targets are. It's like I can see quite clearly where those things start to overlap. So. Big theory, 1970s. Basic proposition. Right? If you have a target, an opportunity presents itself, someone will take it. There are factors that would govern, the suitability of targets. There's theory related to that. Guardianship. What does that look like? Okay. We'll each of those individuals. What is a good target if you're dealing with so something common like theft, because it probably talks about theft. You're gonna steal something. What's a good target?
Well, if you're talking burglary, probably where somebody's not home,
Mhm.
no security system,
Okay.
no security guards.
Okay. I talked earlier about paradoxes. When do most burglaries take place? No, actually during the day. Most people are away at
That's
work.
right,
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah, it's one of those paradoxes. It's
Yeah.
like, everyone always
The TV there.
yeah. Every time I picture one, I see someone slinking around in the dark in my backyard, right? Trying to get in. It's like, no, they're doing that when I'm at work and no one's home. Right? Here, in terms of targets, yeah, you're gonna pick your crime to some degree for what you want to study, but then you look at, okay, here, sold. That would be, if it was there's an acronym called CRAVE. Must be concealable, must be removable, must be easily sold as one of them. Entertainment's another one. Video games. Oh yeah, video games are mine now, right? Plus I can go sell them too, someone else might want to play, but I'll play them in the meantime. Guardianship, here, I like how they give you a definition. Police, that's the obvious one. Homeowners, neighbors, friends, relatives. There's a whole bunch of writing about how, when we say guardians, it's like, the hell type of guardian is a neighbor? Yeah, it's just eyes, right? If they do anything more than that, you're talking about Georgia? Is that Georgia where they had, what was that? Is that Mont Arbery? Is that the one who got shot in the chest, the shotgun? I don't remember that. Maybe it's Georgia.
These guys.
This was probably about 2 years ago. Burglary. Someone keeps burglarizing this house that's getting built. We got a neighborhood watch. Guess what? They had cameras on the place. Guy goes in there, starts breaking in. Neighbors show up with shotguns. Person who's burglarizing the place takes off running. They chase him down. When they chase him down, he decides to grab the shotgun and fight with one of the guys. He gets shot in the chest. All those guys went to prison.
The neighbor?
Yeah, all the neighbors went to prison.
Was that one where they said it was, like, they chased him down and they're part of like clan or something like that?
Yeah,
Like it was a hate crime.
yeah. Even the guy who recorded the video that was used against them, was half a block away, he got prison time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not justice, but that's a different issue.
They don't tell you the same story on the media.
No,
Because the media never said anything
no,
about it.
and they won't show you the video. There's quite decent video. And every time I show it, like the legal class for that chat, because every now and then, I'll bring it up and okay, look. And as soon as you watch it, everyone in there had an opinion before and like, that's not what we were told to happen. Yeah, no, it's not. Never is. Okay, so guardians, it's like, yes, a homeowner will, a police officer will, neighbors, friends, and relatives. It's like relatives, maybe. You start talking about actual guardianship, neighbors and friends, it's very, very, very removed. Does it have an effect? Yes. How do you get it to have one? What do you need to do to make sure that this thing, which really can't do anything at all, actually has an effect? Right? In terms of theories, like if you're getting into it, this is where this one's kind of critiqued the most, is that motivation. You have an offender who will looking for target, and in the absence, they'll take that action, but that whole motivation thing, they never really talk to that. And that's not something that we really do in this field. We're more sociological than psychological. We'll go down to the individual level, but ideally we don't care about what's going on in people's head. We care more about the fact that there's crime. You need to know it to some degree, but staying out of that is good, better idea because it's easier. Okay, routine activities theory. Give you some of that. Crime in everyday life. Is there anything I need to tell you there? Research supports many facets of routine activities theory. Get off there. So, evidence about that. Okay. Overlap between lifestyles and routine activities theory. Right? You're using one, I would use both. Sometimes theories are like that. Here. Proximity to criminals, time of exposure. And of course, those are just basic routine activities theory. Okay. People increase their victimization risk if they live in high crime areas, go out later. So that's also going to affect both of those theories. You're dealing with elements of like if crime and victimization and its relationship to, behaviors people do when they're out having fun. You want to come over here and look at this theory. We should develop that. Right? And if you don't know that, you come and talk to me. Yeah, let's go look at this. Right? Or any other fact. Like, okay, yeah, you probably want to start here. Most people do. For that.
Well, the second one, like we were talking about
Mhm.
burglary, that doesn't necessarily fit the mold.
Yeah, no.
It's just like going out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's like the crime, it's like the crime needs to fit in there.
Yeah.
It may be different for different crimes.
Exactly. And that's it exactly. That's what we're trying to figure out. It's like, okay, what works best with this thing that we're looking at right now? And you get some, like I said, I think it was last guy said, you get the really interesting stuff when you start switching perspectives. You keep in mind specifically what you're interested in, who you're dealing with, and where kind of thing. Because just right then, just right there, you got something.
Who, what, where, why.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay. Victimization theories. Here, they'll give you some. Okay. Precipitation, that for victims provoke it. Lifestyle. You're talking about the danger in life. Deviant places, you're going somewhere that's dangerous. Routine activities, really, it's just that stuff's everywhere, and you're just waiting for the right elements to come together. Section. Sometimes I need some victimology stuff, not as much. That would be not me. I'll do it, but I'd say Dr. Lasky's probably quite a bit better on that than me. Yeah. Which class is that?
Criminology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said Dr. Lasky, have fun. Yeah, so she'll be giving you the up close inspection of this. We've got to go through all of them. So you got to have an idea for what all these theories are. And I want you to do something with it because that's what you'll like. Okay, so here's where they start outlining some of the stuff that the advancements that have happened over the last few decades in terms of victims' rights. Realize that when you're starting only a few decades back, it's society has changed a lot, but there's still significant inlets to be made there. But they'll outline that. So 1982, here's where we start talking about protection. After that, Witness Protection Act, that's 84. That's just kind of where it stops right there now to talk about programs. Okay.
Section. They have a lot of this stuff, this society, like you're saying, has changed so much. Because usually when people got in trouble, they had their family.
Yeah.
And things like that. But now that the families are so messed up, it's like, who do people go to? They gotta have a social safety net, I guess.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of stuff going on there. So what's going on with the victim services stuff, the focus on that. To be honest with you, it's a shift in society to some degree. To some, it's people trying to make that positive change. And I'll show you what I mean here. So. Okay. Get close. And practical versus that, right? Why? Okay. Theory. This is real. That one is an abstraction. Right? We identify the rules. This is the fish. This is how to fish. Beyond that, sometimes they'll talk about, I don't know if they talked about it in this one. My other class, they had some stuff on theory, but they talk about paradigms and stuff like that. It's like, I hate talking about that because I'll do this and this in stuff that I do. I'm not affecting this. Paradigms are like, okay, we're going to start moving more towards this right here, restorative justice. And since we're trying to restore society, we're going to focus more on supports for the victims and maybe the offenders. And so whatever the pressing, whatever society is feeling like it's pushing in that direction, that's going to be the types of elements that they're trying to put in place here, whether that's politicians being reactive to society or trying to help. It's kind of mixed sometimes. Does it actually end up, because this is almost an abstraction from this. What you'll do is you'll see a bunch of theories will align with the basic premise of this, or maybe more tough on crime. So it's going to be something there's another reactive there that's going on. I would have you not pay attention to this stuff at all. We'll deal with this and this, right? We'll start here. You'll get the 1,000-foot view, like what we just did for routine activities theory. And then if that's the theory you want to do, we'll start there, right? In here, I haven't had you do any of that yet. You don't really need to do it for this class. What I'll have you do is I'll have you read the original writing. You'll write a few pages on, okay, here's what that source was. And then here's, whatever number of articles you want to dig into. Here's how it developed. Once you've done that, if you've been working on that, I'll be working on the practical and applied side. We'll find you something for you. Okay, you're interested in this? Run this analysis. Now you've got data. Now you got a presentation. Okay, so victim compensation programs, that's some of the ways they'll do victim compensation. They'll do, if it's restorative, what it'll be is it'll be the offender kind of thing, who's the one trying to issue those funds, I guess, pay those things back. Here it talks a little bit about the many acts that have taken place since then. Advocacy. All of those things started because people started playing with ideas. Right? I've got an idea. I'm curious as to how something's working. I have a question. Well, I'm going to go and I'm going to see what I can find. I'm going to see how things work. Are they working? If so, yes, here's what it looks. If not, maybe we start looking how we can change it and fix it. Right? Whether that's addressing the theory, maybe the theory's wrong, needs to be revised. Whether that's, this is a different situation, or whether it's, hey, this works, everything works just right here. Right? At least now you know something new. Right? We're playing with ideas. And we're about out of time. So since we're, which one? Impact statements? Okay, so that's going to relate to work processes and that kind of stuff. Basically what that will be is most commonly found in parole. Yes. They'll take that into account and you'll have all that in sentencing and trial process and all that. But usually that's here's the sentencing. So you can do the sentencing. It'll also come whenever you're doing parole because you'll want to be there. Parole will come up more frequently than that one conviction. Basically what this is that way you get to show the effect that it has. That's taken into consideration whether it's sentencing or that person's getting back out. This person did this. Are they dangerous? Maybe. No. Taking that stuff into consideration helps a great deal. Wasn't necessarily mandated by any of the processes we had in place. Well,
two sides to every crime.
Yeah. And so we're working on improving it, but we'll get there. Yes. So next class we'll review for the quiz. What I'm going to do, since I did get to ask guys like ideas, I'll make the assignment as well. I'm gonna have you start digging into those theories. Really pick a theory and an idea and start a lit review. Once you pick the theory, I'll send you.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's showing up probably this week, so.
Yeah, I just haven't had time to sit at the computer and work on this class yet. That'll probably be either Friday or before Monday. All right. That, I'll catch you later. Bye.